Vasyl Lomachenko is back. Who's next? Stay tuned. We get into that and more next. Please like and subscribe. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Fights. This week we're going to talk about Vasyl Lomachenko. He says he's back. He says, I'm returning August 25th. Who do you think I'm going to be fighting? We're going to chop that question up and break it down. We want to offer a few suggestions. And you let us know what you think. Speaking of Loma, there was a Rigo sighting recently as well. He was apparently training for a comeback, we think. Who knows? We hope so. I've always liked El Shakal. There is no fighter on planet Earth more polarizing than Vasyl Lomachenko. I was asked recently if Loma is the most overrated fighter in the world. Well, that depends on who you ask. If you ask a Loma fanboy or Dan Rafael, yeah, he might be. That's true. He might just be the most overrated fighter on Earth. You know, Dan Rafael wrote that he could beat 130-pound Floyd Mayweather. I mean, that's a little silly. If you ask one of Loma's haters, on the other hand, and there are a ton of Loma haters, like Robert Garcia, who says that Mickey Ward would beat Lomachenko. You know the type who screeched Salido. But what about Salido at the mere mention of Lomachenko's name? Well, if you ask them, he's not very good, and any come-forward fighter can beat him. Well, then, yeah, he's the most underrated fighter in the world if you go by their standards. So, I mean, he's somewhere in between what Robert Garcia thinks of him and who thinks he would lose to Mickey Ward, which is interesting, and where Dan Rafael ranks him, which is better than Floyd Mayweather. I think it's safe to say he's somewhere in between those two ridiculous polarized standards. One thing's for sure, though, and that is no one is more polarizing than Loma. That's for sure. But who should he fight next? Well, he reversed course in his last fight and fought a bigger guy who wasn't coming off a loss, who was actually coming off a win. And for his two fights before that, he fought two smaller guys, Mariaga and Rigo, who were both smaller and not coming off a win. So him fighting a bigger dude who was actually a pleasant surprise. And the Linares fight delivered. It was a fairly even fight for the most part. Loma landed that awesome body shot that ended Linares' night, but it was a back and forth fight. Good, entertaining fight. You know, candidate for fight of the year. I don't know if we go that far and call it the fight of the year, but it'll be in the discussion, that's for sure. He's back, though. He said he's going to fight again on August 25th. Look, that's just 3 months after having serious shoulder surgery. That would be a remarkably fast comeback considering the surgery. It makes Keith Thurman's minor routine surgery look more and more ridiculous in comparison. But Loma stays active for today's standards, that's for sure. He fought 3 times in 2017, and then he'll have fought twice by August of this year, meaning he could potentially fight 3 times again this year. Look, that's 5 fights in just over a year and a half. Think about what Keith Thurman or Terrence Crawford. I mean, those guys don't fight much at all anymore. The other big names in the sports, and he's still fighting 3 times a year. So this is a good sign. This is a good sign. Is it a good idea for him to come back this soon after surgery? Let us know what you think. If that's a good idea, and also let us know below. Leave in the comments who you think Lomachenko should fight next. We're going to go over a couple of options that seem to make some sense. One of them is kind of like a fantasy fight, the best fight possible, but we'll get to that. The first and most obvious choice seems to be Ray Beltran. That seems to make the most sense, right? He's already scheduled a fight on that day, on August 25th in Arizona, which would be a homecoming fight for him against Jose Pedraza. This fight's already rumored to be canceled. But why would it be canceled? Because Beltran has a big, massive payday with Lomachenko that he'd rather take. It seems like the obvious answer. They're both with Bob Arum. Bob Arum likes to keep the money in the top rank circle. This would allow him to do just that. Beltran has, because of his highly discussed immigration battle, and as well he's a fan-friendly fighter, has become a fan favorite. He's also, he's an all-action fighter. He's got a pretty respectable name. He's been in the ring with some really good fighters, and he's got a belt. So this would be a unification of the WBO and WBA belt. Mikey Garcia is also fighting in July, right? So, and he's fighting with Robert Easter. So they would unify the WBC and the IBF belts, while Lomachenko would unify the other two. This would set up perfectly for the two to fight each other. If Mikey fought in July and Loma fought in August, this would set up perfectly for a fight in the beginning of 2014 for them to meet up and fight for the undisputed lightweight title. Fighting for the unified undisputed crown would also add a little incentive, add a little more gusto to this fight that's already extremely it's the fight everyone wants to see. This is the most hyped fight in and around that weight class, around 135. It's two fighters that are everyone's top 5, pound for pound. It's the best fight that can be made in that weight class. It's one of the best fights that can be made in the sport. Arguably, it is the best fight that can be made in the sport. Putting two guys together in their own weight class. If the Beltran fight isn't canceled, and it goes on as scheduled, what are the other options for an August comeback, or around that date, for Vasily Lomachenko? Two other Bob Arum fighters come to mind. But the first one would be a bit of a rush. Andy Vences, who just put together an excellent win against Frank de Alba. This would be a very quick turnaround for Vences. Would he take such a huge fight on such short notice? Well, if he wants the paycheck, he will, right? He fought just last week. He was 3D Boxing's Fighter of the Week in our first annual Fighter of the Week. Check 3dboxingblog.com, Fighter of the Week for that. He's a really good fighter. Excellent skills. This fight probably wouldn't happen in August. That'd be too quick of a turnaround, but it could happen in September or October. It depends what Bob Arum wants to do. Vance is an excellent athlete, good jab. He can switch hit. He's a decent name. He drew really well in Fresno. He's from Northern California or Central California. He's from San Jose. He did good ratings. That card was it drew a big number, even though the main event was canceled. So he got some eyes on him. And look, he's not an all-action fighter. He's not going to entertain you like Beltran is, but he's a good fighter, and he could give Lomachenko some decent work, and Lomachenko would win. But it would be a challenging, entertaining fight. He's earned himself, Vences has earned himself a chance to fight for a title. Undefeated fighter. He's looked good. The Alba, who he destroyed, outclassed him, is a good fighter. And it wasn't even close, really. So, that's one option. It probably wouldn't come off in August, though. It'd probably come off in September or October. And here's another one. And this is a fighter who was absolutely sizzling prospect for a while. Then his career started to fizzle, started to stall, I should say. That's Felix Verdejo. Felix Verdejo versus Vasily Lomachenko in Madison Square Garden would be a huge ticket sale. Right? Verdejo has fought in the Garden. He fought his last fight in the Garden, which he got knocked out in. We'll get to that. But he's drawn really well there. He's been a co-main there a couple of times. He's got a fan base. He's got a natural fan base in the Puerto Rican market in New York City. Lomachenko has fought his last 2 fights in New York City. This fight would do really well. It's a big money fight. Now, it would make sense, and Verdejo's a good fighter. Would you want to stick him in the ring with someone that good that soon after surgery? That's one half of the equation. The other half of the equation is he's coming off a loss. Now, that didn't stop Mariaga from going in the ring with him. Nicholas Walters had a draw. Jason Sosa had a draw. So those guys weren't coming off wins either when they went in the ring with Lomachenko. So Bob Arum isn't afraid to put guys in the ring with him who aren't coming off of wins. Would he want to risk Verdejo losing 2 fights in a row, which would really set back his career, to put him in there with Lomachenko? Like I said, it would be a big purse. Both guys would make good money. It would draw a huge crowd in the big building of Madison Square Garden. It would do a great TV number. But is it worth it for Bob Arum to put those two together right now? I know he wants to put those two together at some point, but would it make more sense for him to get Verdejo a few more wins, get him looking good, a couple knockouts, have him knock out Jason Sosa, something like that? A couple small 130-pounders, maybe well, there's a couple more names we want to get to before we start going down Felix Verdejo, possible opponents. But if the Beltran fight doesn't come off, that would be the most logical fight. Verdejo makes sense, and it doesn't. Let us know what you guys think of that. Leave your comments below. Is considering he is a top-ranked fighter and he is a draw in New York, where Lomachenko is now doing well, is this a possible fight? Let us know what you think. There are two other names we wanted to talk about. The first is Antonio Lozada, who is the guy who knocked out Verdejo. He was winning the fight on the cards, and then knocked him out in the 10th round. Dangerous fighter, good fighter. That would be an interesting fight. You could sell it at the Garden as well, or you could sell it on the West Coast. The other name we want to talk about is a 130-pound top-ranked prospect, Eric De Leon. De Leon is scheduled to fight next week in a bit of a tuna fight in which he should get an easy knockout. So again, August 8 with De Leon wouldn't really be in reach. You could set that back for maybe September or October, but it's an interesting fight. He's an excellent fighter, but he's a little naturally smaller. It would allow De Leon big exposure on a national card, and it would give Lomachenko a chance to come back against a little bit smaller guy that's not going to knock him out, and look really, really good. Those are really the options that we came up with. De Leon is an unbeaten 130-pound prospect who's with Top Rank. You have Antonio Lozada, who beat Verdejo. Then you have Verdejo and Ray Beltran and Andy Vences. Those are the options that we came up with. Now we have the dream fight scenario, right? Tank Davis. Gervonta Tank Davis. He's, of course, the other option. We know that Floyd has talked to Top Rank about matching the two. This was confirmed by both parties. So we know there's something to this. Both parties talked about it. We don't know how far they got, if anything is realistic here. And again, for this fight, putting Lomachenko in such a big fight so quickly after coming back from surgery probably wouldn't happen. So this is probably not next for Lomachenko, but we want to talk about this fight anyway because it could happen. If Lomachenko is done for till the end of the year, if he has to fight again until November, December, like Arum wants, and Arum has said that he doesn't want Lomachenko back in the ring until December, he could fight Tank Davis in December. This would be the biggest money fight that could be made. It has a lot of hype. And there's an ever-changing mood on Tank Davis. People were super high on him early in 2017. And then after the Fonseca fight on the Mayweather undercard, which happened to be seen by 4 million people, just bad luck, he didn't look particularly good, but and everyone switched their mood on him, and everyone said, well, Tank Davis is a hype job, this and that. And then we said, we never got off the Tank Davis bandwagon. We thought he was a special, special talent, and people criticized us for saying that. But is it possible, and we said this during the fight, that Fonseca, who was unheard of before that fight, is a lot better than people thought he was? Because he was a pretty good fighter, we thought. Good skills, good spacing, pretty strong for a 130-pounder. There was a lot of things to like about Fonseca. Maybe that's the best fighter he's fought so far. And then when Tank Davis came back and destroyed Cellular, or Quaylar, however we pronounce that, Tank Davis was once again the boogeyman that everyone said he was prior to the Fonseca fight. And he looked great in the Quaylar fight. We're going to... Spanish speakers, help us out here. How do you pronounce it? Is it Cellular or is it Quaylar? You got to let us know. But in the Quaylar fight, destroyed him in 3 rounds, and everyone was like, oh, Tank Davis is back. Well, what's Tank Davis? 22, 23 years old? Where did he ever go? He's undefeated. In 2017, he was 3-0 with 3 knockouts against 3 undefeated fighters. 3-0, 3 knockouts, 3 undefeated fighters. That's a resume for Fighter of the Year. It really is. And Quaylar gave Abner Mares all he could handle at 126 in a split decision. He lost. So this is not a walkover, right? We thought Quaylar would give him... He'd lose, but we thought we'd give him a fight. And Davis destroyed him. Look, Davis is the real deal. The power and the speed and the skill set. Davis is for real. And we get criticized for this all the time. We get called Loma haters. We're not Loma haters. We're just really high on Tank Davis. We would favor, and this is not an official prediction at all. If this fight ever happened, we'd give you a breakdown and an official prediction. but just off their styles and their athleticism, we would favor slightly Tank Davis in a Tank Davis versus Loma fight. And that's not a knock on Loma. We just think that Tank Davis could be the next big thing in boxing. Again, and we say that no pun intended because he's like 5'2", 5'4", however tall he is, 130 pounds. But the kid, no pun intended again, is built like a tank. He's got all types of hand speed, excellent power in both hands. He's really, really good. And the world saw him as a special fighter before the Fonseca fight. And he knocked Fonseca out, and then he won his next fight over a former world champion by third-round knockout. So, I mean, this kid is really good. And again, we're not saying he would definitely beat Loma. Most people think we're crazy for thinking that he could. But we would slightly favor Tank Davis if that hypothetical matchup did take place. Bob Arum is insisting that Loma not fight in August and that he stay on the sidelines until December. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think we'll see Loma again in August and that he'll get his way? Or do you think Bob Arum wins out and that he goes back in the ring in December? Or will they meet somewhere in the middle? That's kind of what we think. If the Beltran fight can't be made, then we see the fight in maybe September or October against Vances or Eric De Leon or something like that. Who will Lomachenko fight next? We gave you our thoughts on that. Bunch of options: Beltran, Verdejo, Vances, De Leon, Tank Davis. Let us know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Let us know when you'll think he'll fight next and who he'll fight next. Do you think it'd be one of those 5 guys or someone completely different? August or December? Let us know. Please let us know below. Leave your comments, thoughts, whatever's on your mind. Leave it in the comment section below. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe. Again, for Tuesday Night Fights, this is 3D Boxing signing off. Thank you, and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.